Welcome to this episode of Period Sis. I am joined today by Kate Morton, who is the CEO and founder of Funkit. She is also a registered dietitian, and I'm excited to have this conversation with you today. Kate, hi.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here. Also, my dog's in the back, if you can see the video. He's here
I was
too.
totally about to introduce him as well.
His name is Maverick. He's a 5.5-year-old Aussie Doodle.
And my cat is somewhere. Oh, my cat is sleeping now, thank goodness, away from me. So I'm super excited because you are yet another woman-owned business that many of you guys are supporting with your official box owner subscription. And of course, before we get into your product, before we get into really the benefits as well of it, let's get to know Kate a little bit. So Kate, tell me a little bit about your journey through womanhood that essentially led to the product that I have right here in my hand that matches my shirt.
It does match your shirt. Yeah, so I think it's like a pretty typical story of it took me a long time to figure out, one, who I was as a woman, but who I wanted to be. Not just who I was, but who I wanted to be. And I kind of like, especially like, so the product you have in your hand is the Libido support, which I can't wait to talk about because I think that's something we do not talk enough about in general. Like, I love your episode on divine femininity.
With
I love
Aisha.
that one. Yes.
With Aisha, yes.
So that I was listening to that episode when I was in the process of designing all of this. So like, it was cool to hear that. But
Awesome.
yeah, so my journey was I'm a registered dietitian. I went to school. I got, an undergrad degree, a master's. I worked in a hospital. I took a pretty traditional path until I got a chance to move to New Zealand, which was a job opportunity that my partner had. And I was like, yep, I'll give up my whole career. I'll give up everything. I just want to travel. And so I got the opportunity, like the privilege to be able to do that. It meant I went and worked retail in another country, even after getting I went and worked retail. I did all these different jobs that taught me so much about myself and about people. And I worked at Lululemon, and then I ended up at a wellness company, which I loved. And they gave me so much freedom. I was their first employee, and I got to redesign packaging and products. And I learned more about wellness, not just about food, but about the total component of wellness. So, it's mind, body, spirit. It's very all together. And I started learning about hormones, which I got off birth control at the same time because I had that implant in my arm.
Oh, the Nexplanon. How and what made you get off of that? Was there a certain reason?
Yes. And so I think that's a thing too. And I'm not anti-birth control. I'm pro empowered decision making. So if you have all of the answers and you decide what you want to do, that's what I want for you and for me. But I feel I got on, and this all does tie back into this question of womanhood, because
of course
I got on birth control at 13, 14, after I got my period. And
was that by choice, or was that a conversation with your parents?
It was kind of I had bad cramps, and it was and then my doctor was oh, you should just get on birth control. And, I didn't really know better. My mom was okay, if you think that's the right option, we trust you. You're the doctor.
Right.
So I was on it forever, and it's tough because then you don't really learn a lot about your cycle. And so I feel my journey in womanhood really started when I got my birth control out. And I had every symptom in the book for the Nexplanon. It got lost in my arm.
Oh, no.
First off, I bled for 2 years, spotted for 2 years, which talk about sex life, libido, not feeling your best. That's not
I was about
ideal.
to say, so did you not have sex for 2 years, or you
I
ran
did.
red
I
lights?
just was whatever. This is just going to be what it is. But you don't feel sexy when you're bleeding. And that's just you might. I don't. Especially when it's spotting and it's just you never know when it's coming. It was that breakthrough bleeding, which sucked. And so I got it out because I was enough is enough. Living over there, I had such a great quality of life, and it's a lot slower pace. So I got way more in touch with myself and into wellness. And I was this birth control is not doing me any favors. So I got it out, and I started tracking my cycle, which also means all the PMS I had been delaying because of birth control came back. So I had teenage acne. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So that was the worst part about it was I was I'm gonna get off birth control. I'm gonna be this goddess in touch with my hormones. It's gonna be amazing. And then I got off birth control, and it was ear to ear hormonal acne, like deep, painful acne, PMS, like moodiness. Our apartment was tiny. It was like 400 square feet. So our shower was like this big. I would sit in the shower and just like let hot water hit me because I couldn't move because of cramps. Like,
Oh, wow.
everything I had been delaying as a teenager, it wasn't fixed because of birth control. It was just not dealt with.
Okay.
So that's when I started doing research on hormones and cycles and food. And I'm food first is the approach I take as a dietitian. Like, I'm not anti-supplement. I'm just kind of like, let's see what we can get from our food. It's usually cheaper. It's easier. You're more in touch with it. I think diet culture leans really heavy on just like fixing everything with a supplement. So I tried to do that for myself. And
Okay.
I learned there's a lot of food we could eat that supports our like female cycles. And
Okay,
then,
I did just
yeah.
learn too, even like, and I think you're really, I can't love to, I can't wait to get into the food specifically and all of the things with seed cycling when we get there. But the only thing that I think we've shared on period cysts thus far that you can take as far as in the food category would actually be like teas. We talked about teas.
Yeah,
like
I love
raspberry.
teas.
We have that in the box as well, but it's like raspberry and nettle tea.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things as well that soothe like period cramps.
There's so many things.
What other
Chamomile
foods?
tea.
Talk to me. What else?
Oh my gosh, so many things. Okay. So I started learning and I was like, and so I think I'm always pretty confident, but like a little bit disempowered, if that makes sense. Like I was confident, but I didn't really feel like I could like take steps into creating the life I wanted. I would look at other people's lives and be like, even when I was living in New Zealand doing quote unquote like this cool thing, I was like, look at other people's lives and be like, oh, I wish I could do that or whatever. And I got off birth control, I got in touch with my cycle, and I had this like slap in the face that like you are responsible for creating the life you want to live. And it all just like hit me at once, and that's kind of like how Funk It was born. And I became a really empowered person where like I would speak up about things, especially trying to start a business in the period industry. I mean, you can imagine the comments I get from investors or people at the bank, like, what do you do? I make food for your menstrual cycle. Like, I'm so confident in it now, but I used to be like, I make food for your period. And now I'm like, no, I make food for your menstrual cycle. And so, yeah, it's just, I feel like I got off birth control, I got in touch with my hormones, and I became who I was supposed to be. It kind of all happened at one time. And the food part's empowering because food is something that we can have access to. So expensive supplements aren't always something, even ordering off my site, that may not be accessible for you. But food, we can go to the grocery store, we can find these foods and really heal our bodies. So omega-3s are huge.
Okay, and that's like fish oil, right? Yeah,
like you can, if you eat meat, you can do fish oils, fatty fishes, but also flax seeds.
Okay, I've seen those.
And PCOS, there's a lot of research on flaxseed and PCOS, which is really cool.
Now, flaxseed where else could I put that besides a smoothie? Is that something you can cook with or put on any other types of foods?
So if you cook with it, you can cook with it, but it kind of kills some of the nutrients. But if you grind it up, especially like our nurture blends, which we'll get into that have the flax, they're like a really nice like texture. So you can top a salad with it. You can put it on top of soup. Avocado toast is really good with it. So kind of sky's the limit. You can do, and you can also buy like more concentrated forms, but omega-3s, huge. Vitamin E also directly helps with breast tenderness around your period.
Really? Like the topical vitamin E or eating? Like how would I eat? How do I eat vitamin E? Where can I find vitamin E?
Yeah, it's in sunflower seeds.
And I'm grabbing my tits right now. But guys, I think I've said like, PMS, I literally know when my period is coming because literally the week before.
Your boobs.
I don't even want to wear a bra. They hurt so bad. And so that's kind of.
Oh, we're going to get you a seed cycling kit because that's one of the first symptoms to go away when you're seed cycling because vitamin E and vitamin B6, which are in the sunflower and sesame seeds, directly help with that.
Oh, wow. Noted. Did not know there was anything that would help
we can help with
sore
that.
Tits. Okay.
Because that was my thing too. And like, I've got kind of big boobs. So then they feel even bigger and like,
huge.
Like I had a breast reduction and then like I still have big boobs. Like I'm still like a double D. And so.
Oh, you were like a J then.
Yeah. On like a 5'3" frame.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And that could be that could be super painful, but they do get bigger,
they
right?
Get big. They get like, more engorged. Yeah. Like swollen and painful. Like I feel the same thing. Like I would not want to wear a bra. It's like hereditary too. So like probably everyone else, if you have any other women in your family who are having cycles, they probably have painful boobs too. So
it's crazy. Not even a discussion that has been had, which is crazy.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
Yeah. We also just learned that squirting is also genetic. So when we get into libido, that's a whole nother conversation that maybe you guys can have with your parents. Okay. So you found out that all of these foods have benefits.
Yes.
And so that led you into further researching on combining them or eating them on your own. What was that like?
Yeah. So it led me down this path. Like, so dairy was one, and this is not for everybody. Not everyone's sensitive to dairy. I just happened to be. So I found out that dairy was a huge part of my hormonal acne.
Okay.
You know who actually told me that was in New Zealand? It's a lot more holistic. My dermatologist. I was going to get on Accutane, which is really hard on your skin. And
yes.
If you need it, you need it. But he was like, have you tried cutting out dairy? And I was like, what? And he was like, well, if you think about it, cows are artificially inseminated to produce hormones, to produce milk. So the further they progress in their pregnancy, the more hormones are passed on into the milk. And sometimes those hormones can be passed on to you. And he said, like, there's not a ton of research on it. He's like, but I see a lot of patients cut out dairy and
it changes
their skin. And so, yeah, that was my like first step of kind of realizing all of this. And then I went down that whole other rabbit hole. And then I got introduced to seed cycling, and I was so skeptical. I mean, so skeptical.
So guys, I'm super excited because this is the part of the episode that I said maybe only 10% of you would be familiar with. And this is, again, my excitement about learning about you, your brand, your product, because I went down the rabbit hole of Funk It Wellness and their Instagram page, and I said, what is this? I saw oatmeal, I saw smoothies, then I saw seeds, and I saw packs of literally seeds. And I was like, then I saw the talk about periods and menstrual cycles and PCOS. And I said, what the hell is this product? And your captions were very, very informative. But I was like, seed cycling? I have never heard of this. So can you explain maybe the most elementary way what seed cycling is? And then let's get into the more like routine, because you actually have steps and where to take it, how many days before, how many days after. So let's talk about what seed cycling actually is.
Yeah. So the best way to describe it is, and I'm going to start with the cycles of our hormones, because think about this. Went through biology, physiology, have a degree in kinesiology, which is movement of the body and nutrition. Got a master's degree in human clinical nutrition. Never did I learn there's 4 parts to my menstrual cycle and that my hormones are changing every day.
Okay, so let's go with the first one.
So let's start there.
Okay.
So phase 1 is your menstruation, period. So like bleeding, like your first day of like a true bleed is kind of where we say like count number 1. You know, sometimes you can have a little bit of spotting, but that first, like, my period is here.
Yes.
She's here.
So that's number 1.
Number 1, and that can last anywhere to 5 to 7 days, depending.
Girl, 3. I am 3, God's chosen one. Okay.
I only have 3 days of bleeding now too, and I used to have 8.
Oh wow. Okay.
If you have a bad flow, there are things you can do between food, sleep, exercise. There are things you can do to help with that.
Okay. Number 2,
your follicular phase, which this is, so I kind of think of them like nesting dolls. Like, so you have your period and you have your follicular phase, but they kind of nest together. They're like here.
Okay.
In terms of seed cycling. So your follicular phase is you're done bleeding, your hormones are starting to pick back up, and you're getting ready to release your egg for ovulation.
Okay.
So it's getting that follicle ready. That egg follicle is why we talk about that. Emotionally, this is like a really creative phase in our cycle. So if you ever notice there's like a time of the month you're like, man, I'm unstoppable. I've got all these ideas. I'm going to plan 7 podcast episodes. I'm going to plan this whole box today, and I'm going to, I'm just going to go for it. That's probably your follicular phase. You're coming off your period and you're feeling hopeful and excited.
Okay.
And your hormones, estrogen's picking up, and you're kind of reaching up here. And I kind of say ovulation's the peak. So that's like the next part. This is like your
that's when I really
phase.
want sex, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
This is when your body is like, give me sex. Let me just like be my most authentic, loud. Like, I think if you're like ovulation phase is like when you should have important business meetings or record like a video for your website or go on a first date. Like, it's all these things, or don't, depending on how high your libido is. If you're like tracking your cycle and trying to avoid pregnancy, that's a whole other thing. But this is when our egg is released. And so we physically glow. So this is a time when we're like glowing, feeling our best. And then then the egg's released and you either get pregnant or you don't, depending on what your goals are and all that kind of stuff. Then we go into our luteal phase, which is just the longest phase. And people have a love-hate relationship with this phase. It can be kind of a get shit done phase.
Okay.
So say you planned all these activities, you nailed your meeting, now you've got to get it done.
Okay.
So we go a little bit inside, introverted a little bit. And this is where PMS can happen. If we're not careful with estrogen can get high or low. And if we're not balanced here, this is where PMS comes. Anxiety, your boobs hurt, you're getting ready for your period. For some people, 2 weeks out of the month can actually just feel like a total crapshoot.
Wow. I didn't know PMS could even be that long. I always thought it was just the week right before the blood comes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So seed cycling, goes. I know that your next question. How does this work with seeds then?
Yes.
Okay. So seed cycling from day 1 and I'm going to go off a typical cycle, which is 28 days. Keep in mind, mine's 32. Everyone's a little bit different. So follow your own cycle. But so from day 1 of your period till ovulation, you have flax and pumpkin seeds.
Okay.
This is packed with omega-3s, which I said are great for inflammation around your period. They're also, flax seeds have these amazing things called lignans in them. I call them like a shape-shifting puzzle piece. They combine to estrogen.
Okay.
And either help get rid of excess estrogen or help bring your estrogen level to where it needs to be. It's called a phytoestrogen, or kind of like a fake estrogen.
Okay.
Which is cool. And then you've got zinc and magnesium. Magnesium is great for anxiety, clarity, sleep. And then zinc can actually be really important for immunity, which is super important for the past year we've been living through.
Yes. Zinc is something I ordered when I was like, I need all the immunity boosters.
Get it to me.
Get it to me. Yeah. Okay.
So then you've got zinc, and that can also contribute to egg quality. So like as your egg is getting ready, we want to release good quality eggs. Even if you're not trying to have a baby, ovulation is important. It's protective for our body. So these hormonal changes actually are meant to protect us, even if we're not trying to get pregnant. I've been off birth control 4 years. I'm not trying to have a baby, but it is important to me that I ovulate, and just be careful.
Right.
Just be careful and track your cycle. So you have your flax and pumpkin, and we actually pre-grind everything. It took us almost a year to get this down. We grind it in small batches and we seal it up so it locks in all the nutrients, and we deliver it straight to your door.
Wow.
So that's to recap: period to ovulation, so days 1 to 14, flax, pumpkin seeds, always ground. If you eat a whole seed, you'll probably poop it out, and that's the intention, is for birds to spread seeds and plant trees. So that's what it's supposed to do. But yeah, so then we get to ovulation and we switch to sesame and sunflower seeds. So like I said, B6, vitamin E, still have some omega-3s and lignans to help us out. But then we also have zinc, selenium, and magnesium here too.
Okay.
And then those always need to be ground. And then when your period comes again, you just switch back to your other seeds and you keep cycling through. So as your hormones shift, your nutrients shift along with them to support the different phases.
Yeah, wow. That's a lot of science. That's a whole lot of science. And yeah, I guess, again, I understand what we put into our bodies affects. I think we know a lot of times our skin, our weight, and for whatever reason, there's not enough conversations surrounding about what we put into our body and how it affects our cycles. So I love that you now not only have a product that does that, but you also are educating people about the nutrients that work well for us as women. Mm-hmm. I love that. Now, I did want to get into, because this is something that I've actually brought up on Horrible Decisions, and we know about aphrodisiacs, so to speak. I wanted to talk about your latest product, if we could. It is Funky Time, and it is your organic maca powder. So maca root. Mm-hmm. Many women are familiar with the term, whether they've had it or not, and they just know that it increases your sex drive. It's the love potion.
It really does. It's crazy.
It's what we take. So tell me how you go from, because I think it aligns as well perfectly with Official Box Owner in the importance of your feminine health and then also your sexual health. Mm-hmm. So talk to me about what made you get into the maca root, what research you did surrounding this, and how you came up with Funky Time.
Yeah, so it all goes back to that initial story. I can like see it in my head. Like I was in my teeny tiny, beautiful, it was a beautiful kitchen, but it was so small. Like my oven was the size of a toaster oven. It was comical how small my kitchen was.
Oh, and you were in a tiny house.
I was in a tiny house.
You were in a tiny house.
I was getting off birth control. And, you know, it was hard. I felt broken on birth control personally because, you know, I was bleeding all the time. And I was like, where is my sex drive? Like, at that time, I was 24 years old. Like, what is going on with me? And I knew deep down, you know, it's so easy to blame yourself. Like, oh, it just must be me. Something's wrong with me. Like, I'm not. And like, I also was like not confident because I was going through all this bleeding. So, you know, sexuality has so many components, but
it does.
It does. And I had to work through all of them. But the food one is like my comfort place. So I started looking for foods and I actually found maca root and I started taking it. And I loved it. And it's like the cool thing about it is like, even if you're like, oh, my libido is fine, it's good for energy and vitality, which a lot of us are feeling a little bit dull. We're in front of screens all day. We're tired. We're maybe not sleeping well because our bedroom is also our office. And you know how it is. So it's great. Do. And by decreasing our stress, it can sometimes increase our libido. And so I did a ton. Yeah, because you put down the barrier.
The fact that this isn't common sense to me, like, because I actually, if I'm
super
stressed,
didn't know either.
Yeah, like if I'm super stressed, I know I want to have sex, but I don't want to have sex if that makes sense.
You can't like mentally get there. Like you physically can't. You can want to have sex, but mentally like you can't get your brain like, because it's a whole body activity. And
it really is.
That's like where this came from is Funk It has been such a journey for me. You know, it is my baby in a way. And like, it has been a healing process for me. You know, I did a whole nother podcast on this. Like I struggled with an eating disorder. I struggled with birth control and like Funk It like healed a lot of it and showed me what I don't ever want another person to feel like, you know, like,
right.
I don't want someone else to feel broken or like, just because they don't want to have sex all the time, something's wrong with them. Or so I try to find food that can help us to feel whole and like feel like we can do whatever we want to do. So Funky Time was this great expression of, it's a product that I've used forever and I love. And I was like, how can we make it better? So I did all this research and it's actually maca concentrate or gelatinized maca. It's vegan.
Okay.
All that means is the starch is removed. Some people have an issue with the starch in maca root, and traditionally it was always consumed cooked. So I spent a lot of time. And so being a dietitian, everything I'm telling you guys is something I've researched and peer-reviewed research, like PubMed, good research. So with maca, it actually, you need to, sometimes removing that starch makes it, one, have a better taste. And it kind of smells like graham cracker, like a little bit sweet.
Yes, that's what it looks like too.
It's yummy. It tastes good. And yes, exactly. And so and it was hard to find we do everything organic, but we make it affordable. We never upcharge for being organic because I think it should be accessible for everybody if we can make
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be this elite club where you can only eat organic if you want to pay $60 for a tiny concentrate. That's just
Right,
what I
agreed.
personally believe. Everyone you run whatever you want to run, but
Right.
I don't feel right about that. And so we found a perfect supplier. We started the process. And of course, I took it myself for 3 months before it ever even made it to a production run because
Okay,
I want to make
perfect.
sure it works. Like, I'm not going to send you guys something that is bad. And so that's where it kind of came from. And funky time was like, I think sexy time or whatever you want to call it can still give
Yes.
some people a little bit of anxiety. Like, okay, I have to be sexy. I have to do all these things to have sex. And I have to like be a different person than I am. And like, I'm not some like sex goddess, but like funky time was just like fun. And it's like, go have fun. Whether it's with yourself, with your partner, with whoever you want to have fun with, like,
Yes.
be empowered to feel good enough to have funky time. And that's like where it came from. There was not a lot of research and development into the name. I just was like, that's it.
So funky time, sexy time, freaky time.
All the things you want to call it, that's
All
what
of
it
those
is.
things.
And
Okay.
then Claire, who's my co-founder and the amazing designer of all the packaging you see, and
I love
also
it.
my best friend, we went for like an 80s rock and roll vibe because we
Okay.
really liked the like 80s rock, like you do you,
I
have
see
fun.
the scrunchie. I see the scrunchie going on.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
We want to like make people get in that like free-spirited, excited. We want to make sex fun again. Like, because I think in our culture it's so much pressure.
There is.
And maybe I'm speaking from personal experience, like, but everyone I've talked to about this has been like, man, I wish I could just let my guard down and like talk about this, but it feels like, oh, I'm only having sex this many times a week, but my friend's having sex this many times a week. It gets to be
There's definitely pressure. And I wanted to ask you then, with the Maca, what are the how does it make you feel? What does again, libido, such a scientific word.
Yeah.
So what, you know what I mean? So what exactly what effects does it have on the woman? Because this does suggest
gives you a
that
little-
you take a teaspoon daily.
Yeah.
In your
Little pep
juices,
in your step. Like, that's
smoothies.
what it is.
Okay, so I'm not gonna walk around leaking wet from my pussy because of this.
Although you might, because if you're seed cycling, it increases.
Okay.
We have a podcast episode called WAP coming out soon. So cervical fluid and like mucus is a term, but like being wet is really important for our health. And we
Yes.
also don't talk about that. Seed cycling and hormonal balance allows that. And so it's good to do them together because, yeah, you may be in the mood, but like you have to get everything in the mood, or you can
Yes.
use lube. I mean, whatever. Lube's
Oh,
great.
that's
like,
me. I was about to say lube stay by the bedside.
Lube's great. Everybody should have lube, in my opinion. Like, you should have it and you should
Agreed.
use it because it just also, I think I'm all about taking the pressure off. That's a common theme here.
Same. And that's me. And I think, I've definitely talked about that, but I have been definitely trying to boost my libido because there are certain times of the month, and now that you went through the whole cycle,
It makes sense.
Certain times I'd be like, I want to be with my boyfriend, and I'm just not getting wet.
No.
And then
you're
there's spit, then there's lube, then like we're trying to get me ready,
And then you're in your head. And then
I'm
it's like a
fuck,
whole
I'm
thing.
dry. Yeah, is he
And then it doesn't
enjoying
feel good
Because-
if it's dry. Ow.
that too. That too. And then also, ladies, if you're having sex, whether it's rough or soft sex, and your vagina is dry, that actually, the friction there can lead to you potentially getting a UTI or some sort of BV or some sort of yeast infection because of
Anything.
the irritation. So yeah, stay away from DOP.
Yes.
Dap.
You need to be, like, you deserve to be wet in whatever way that is. Like, whether it's through lube or you
Yes.
use these foods or you do meditation practices are super effective.
Okay.
Daily meditation. But yeah, so funky time just gives you that little pep in your step,
love
that
it.
edge. It's kind of like a stress protector is how I look at it. Our days are stressful. It gives you that inner confidence and like that inner sexual drive that you
Yes.
may want to have and you don't now. And also it tastes really good, so you can just put it in anything, smoothie, oats. You can put it, if you have one of those little blenders that goes, like in your coffee, you can put it in like tea and coffee.
Oh, wow. I'm super, super, super excited to share my experience with this. I'm currently on my cycle as well. So I guess that's going to be my last question. Is this something that is still fine to take while you're on your period? Because I know we talked about your other seeds, but is maca root something that is okay to take during your period and it doesn't have any side effects or anything while you're menstruating, right?
Like all the research points to like you can take it daily. I will say like start small. Like if you're really sensitive to like caffeine or like anything like that, like just make sure you don't have over that teaspoon. Like I'm really sensitive to caffeine. Like I had to quit drinking coffee, which is so sad, but
I'm so sorry.
I just found a coffee though that's like a lower caffeine amount, and I'm like, yes.
I love it. I add espresso to my coffee.
And red wine were like two things that came up on my like, you can't have them, like my intolerance test, and I was like,
oh no.
That's my life.
That is my life. So I'm really sorry. So then this is something that just start small, maybe half a teaspoon for those.
Yeah, like if you're worried that it's going to be like a lot, I do a whole teaspoon and I'm totally fine. People like describe it as like no jitters, just that like little boost. But if you are sensitive to things or you're sensitive to hormonal shifts, just start small.
Okay. Awesome. I guess before we get out of here, I always love to leave off with advice that you would give to someone, maybe seed cycling for their first time. So I know that you have it easily packaged for someone. What would be your advice to someone who's looking into starting seed cycling for the very first time?
Yeah, I would say download a period tracking app if you don't have one, because it's important to get to know your cycle. So it can seem a little intimidating. Like I was intimidated at first, like how am I supposed to know when to switch? And like, this feels like a lot, and we're working on an FAQ page now, so if you have any questions, just feel free to send them my way because we'll incorporate them. Download a period tracking app. Get kind of familiar with where your cycle is. Funkit does make it really easy. We deliver it to your door. It's already ground. We even give you a little scoop to measure.
Okay, awesome.
I give you a little scoop and everything, and then there's going to be some trial and error. Like, download that app. Make sure you do it in an easy way. Obviously, I'd love for you to seed cycle with us. We'll make it easy for you. And then from there, like give it 3 months. Like give it 3 cycles. Because with natural things, people see great results in the first month. But if you want to really see the full effect, like I'm talking about like less cramps, like acne gone, like all these things, give it 3 months because natural things take about 90 days.
But you also then have something to compare it to.
Exactly.
And I think that that's always important because there are so many variables to the flow of our periods, the heaviness of our periods, the cramps and how we feel.
And stress impacts it, sleep, exercise, like all the things. And then too, like if you follow us on Instagram, like we respond to DMs usually within an hour. Like that's like our biggest priority.
Love it.
Ask us questions. We are happy to help. My biggest goal in life is that other people don't have to go to 10 million websites to figure it out. In May, we're launching a free health portal. So it's actually going to be like podcasts, webinars, quizzes, blog articles, all these things where you can come and it's like one collective resource for menstruation. So utilize that.
I love it. In May, we're going to have to talk again or maybe get Claire on here because I would love to see what that's like, what the conversations are, and definitely push that to our box owners that tune in. Kate, before we get out of here as well, can you let everyone know where they can follow you, what your website is, and also, guys, stay tuned for Stats and Facts because I do have a discount code for you at Funkit. But also, I wanted to just add a little bit more stats to seed cycling if you guys were interested. So, Kate, where can they find it? You guys will also be able to see all of this in the description of the episode.
Yes, you can find us at funkitwellness.com. Go on there, shop. We've got chatbot if you have any questions. And then funk.it.wellness is our Instagram page. That's like the heart of our education and communication. So slide in our DMs. We just talked about period poops yesterday. We've got all kinds of good stuff on there. It's a thing. Period poops are a thing.
Period poops are a thing. And guys, y'all let me know if y'all want a whole episode on period poops because maybe we can incorporate
prostaglandins,
the scientific side to period poops. Well, Kate, thank you so very much for joining us here on Period Sis. And guys, be sure that you stay tuned for Stats and Facts. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.